Welcome to this week's xConnect Northwest, connecting you to the experts. I'm your host, Greg Mills, and today we're talking about some of the sites and activities visitors might enjoy in the greater Tri-Cities region. Kim Schugert is the Senior Vice President of the Tri-Cities Visitor and Convention Bureau and joins us to share some of the more popular locations and little-known gems with us. Before we get going, I want to remind you that you can join us at home. The conversation is easy to get and become a part of by connecting with us on Twitter, first of all, at NWPTV. You can use the hashtag xConnectNW. On Facebook, search Northwest Public Television, or by email at kwsutv@wsu.edu. Kim, thanks a lot for joining us today. It's great to have you along.
Greg, it's great to be here. Thanks for asking me to join you.
Absolutely. Let's just start by talking about the region in general, the Tri-Cities region, and what makes it so special. What makes it a destination?
Well, I would say one of our best attributes is that we are so diverse. Whether you're a science-minded individual or somebody who likes history, maybe you're a wine enthusiast or you like outdoor recreation, we really have something that appeals to all sorts of different folks. And of course, our weather being what it is, people can really have a great time here in our community year-round.
Yeah, I think because our state is so diverse weather-wise, you bring up a great point. Do a lot of people, perhaps particularly on the west side of Washington State, not really know how many months out of the year you have that have really good weather?
They're learning. There's a couple things. One, we have so many wide open spaces, and as those major population centers get more and more hectic, as it will, people are searching for areas that have. You can golf year-round in the Tri-Cities, so we get a lot of folks that come over in January, February, either from the Seattle area or Spokane. It's still a little bit cold up there. This year might be an exception, but year after year, on a pretty consistent basis, we have golfers that come in the early spring and late into the fall as well.
Let's talk about some of the main things that draw visitors to the Tri-Cities. I know you said you've got a lot of diverse activities. Let's talk about them.
Okay, well first, probably most well known for our wine industry. There are 200 wineries within a 1-hour drive of the Tri-Cities, and what that's brought along with it is kind of some culinary independent restaurants that kind of enhance what's available. Red Mountain has gained some national and international accolades for the quality of wines that are being produced there. So that kind of appeals to one type of visitor. Then outdoor recreation is very big here. The Columbia River flows through our community, and that allows for kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, boating, fishing, all sorts of recreation. And we also have a 23-mile looped Sacagawea Heritage Trail. So rather than some communities that have rivers, you can't really access the shoreline. You can really get down close to the river and splash in the water here in the Tri-Cities. So that brings families and all sorts of folks to the Tri-Cities.
Let's talk about the wine industry just by itself for a few minutes. It's really blown up in the last 20 years, even in the larger region, including Walla Walla and whatnot. But so many wineries and so many things to do and so many of them to visit. Do you see it, and is it possible for it to be a family destination, the wineries? I think a lot of people might look at that and think it's just kind of a couple's getaway at first glance. What do you think of that?
Well, there's always different things that complement the winery. So for instance, on Red Mountain, you can take a trail ride. So if you want to combine that and have a picnic at one of the wineries, certainly the adults that are 21 and over are the only ones that are going to taste. But that's one of the unique things about the wine industry in the Tri-Cities. It's a very authentic experience. So again, you can hop on a horse, you can go through a trail ride, you can hike a mountain, you can go to the tasting room and then enjoy a nice lunch and a tasting in addition to that. So it really can be more family oriented. And then afterwards you could visit, say, the carousel, take a carousel ride or add in one of the other things just to give a little more substance to maybe some of the youthful visitors that are traveling with wine enthusiasts.
Sure. Has the wine industry and the tourism that comes with it changed the way you market the Tri-Cities? And are you seeing a lot more people visiting the Tri-Cities for various things?
Well, tourism has always been big in the Tri-Cities. Currently, visitors spend about $392 million a year here. There's 5,500 jobs that are attributed to tourism here in the Tri-Cities. And so the wine industry has been part of gosh, the tourism and destination marketing that we do for quite some time, it has been more discovered. I think some people really didn't realize that most of the wine grapes are actually grown here in the Columbia Valley. So even though the tasting rooms might be along the I-5 corridor or in other areas, really, again, the authentic growing of the grapes and cultivating of the wines takes place here in the Tri-Cities. So that's always been a huge part of our portfolio. What we are seeing more of is interest in the national park. Recently, there was legislation that was passed in Congress to fund a national historical park. And there's a lot more that's being done as far as, say, the WSU Washington Wine Science Center. So those are things that are attributes that kind of complement the wine industry. Historically, wine and golf were kind of the mainstays, and now we're seeing people enjoying a number of other things.
What do you see it turning into now that you're adding other things to it and a lot more recreation to it, it sounds like? And tell me a little bit more about what your expectations are as we continue to develop outdoor activities there. What do you think it looks like maybe in 10 years?
Well, one of the things you always have to be mindful of is the way consumers are changing and the things that they want. We talk a lot about the effects of youth on tourism, and for instance, TripAdvisor for the first time is the most popular website. Things like the fact that handheld devices, there are more people using handheld devices now than using desktop. That was for the first time ever. That occurred in 2014. Mm-hmm. So we have to change the way we market to be marketing to a more youthful audience. The youth of today is not necessarily very patient. They want immediate results, and you need to cater to that when you're either helping them with their check-in process or what the information that you're offering them. They really want to have good information, and they want it to be immediate.
Do you think it's having an effect on the hotel industry? Do you have enough rooms, or are you feeling like that's something that's building as well?
It's something that is building. With the recession that took place in recently, there was a slowdown in the number of new projects, but we've seen in the last year or two funding for those types of new hotels has loosened up a little bit, and as a matter of fact, between October of last year, 2014, and October 2015, we're going to add 5 new hotels to our market and nearly 600 guest rooms. So certainly you're going to see a lot of changes, a huge variety in the number of hotels that are, or the types of hotels that are available. Hotels along the Columbia River, we recently had the Homewood Suites open. Hotels that are more budget conscious, we had My Place, which is an extended stay open. So there's really quite a bit that can be offered to all sorts of travelers that are on all sorts of budgets.
Let's talk about some of the hidden gems. What are some of the lesser known things that people can discover in the Tri-Cities?
Well, there's a few things that are off the beaten path. For instance, the Confluence Project, which was developed by Maya Lin, recently opened. It opened in 2013, I believe. It's in a quiet state park, the Sacagawea State Park. That's kind of a hidden gem. The Country Mercantile, which is located on 395, is a very great family-oriented business. It has a chocolate factory there, a lot of homemade, different types of food products, but they also offer entertainment for the kids, whether it's a corn maze in the fall or a pumpkin patch in the fall. They've got amusement rides, and they're actually opening a second location here that'll open within the next 60 days or so.
If you're feeling adventurous, what are some of your recommendations for that type of traveler?
Badger Mountain is always a great mountain to hike. It used to be that there was just one trail and one way to get up Badger Mountain. There's now 3. You can kind of attack it, if you will, from 3 different directions. And once you get to the top, the vistas, you can see the Snake River, the Columbia River, the confluence of the rivers, as well as the cities, and it's just beautiful up there. I previously mentioned the Sacagawea Heritage Trail, which is a paved trail, so you can either bike or skateboard or rollerblade or whatever your preference is on both sides of the river through 3 cities and 2 counties, so that's always something nice for the adventurers. Or you can take a jet boat tour up to the Hanford Reach. Not as much activity involved there, but certainly some great recreation and adventure.
For sure. Well, you've got so many months of great weather. I imagine that means festivals. What kinds of them can someone look for as they're planning out one of the various months that they could holiday there?
Well, there's certainly I would recommend people go to our website first of all, because we have a great calendar of events. We have a couple of publications. You can sign up for an electronic newsletter that'll tell you weekly what we have coming up for the next week. But you can search by date and see what's available. There's some type of festival taking place almost for instance, last week there was a beer and brews festival that took place at the convention center. Certainly boat races is probably our best known festival that we host. Cool Desert Nights, if you're an authentic or a classic car enthusiast, we offer that. So whether you're a foodie and you want to come in May for the Fiery Foods Festival, there's music festivals, there's just literally something going on almost every weekend, and certainly a couple weekends out of the month.
And I know we've mentioned it, and I've alluded to it as well, but really explain to us what kind of weather you have and how many months out of the year, and maybe what the best time to visit, or do you have a suggestion for what the best time to visit the Tri-Cities is?
Well, of course, there's more activities that are planned in the summertime. So, but there's also more people that are here, and it can be a little bit hard at times to find hotel rooms during those peak weekends in June, July, and even parts of August. So, if you like a more serene type experience, come a little bit earlier or stay later. For the wine enthusiast, the springtime is great when they're doing the barrel tasting, as well as the fall when they're doing the crush. If you're a golfer, again, we have golfing that we offer when other golf courses are closed around the state. So it really depends on what your level of activity or what your interest is. And again, there's so many wide open spaces. If you just want to get away from all the hubbub and the traffic, you can pretty much come anytime.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I was interested in what you were talking about when you were explaining about the handheld devices and changing the way you're marketing. How is it that you market the Tri-Cities in general, and where do you point that marketing? Is it mostly to the western side of Washington, or do you have a wider array to that? How do you market it?
Well, historically, it has been mostly along the I-5 corridor because that's where most of the population in the Northwest is. But we are starting to see that we're marketing a little bit more to the inland Northwest, to Spokane, and then for the first time next year, we'll be doing television advertising in both Spokane and Portland markets. For many, many years, we have marketed the Tri-Cities via television advertising in the spring and the fall, and we have a pretty popular advertising campaign that we do. We do a number of things where we host the media, the travel writers that come in, and then they write about all of these things that we've been talking about so that people can read about them, and I think that carries a lot more authenticity with it rather than just seeing a print ad. They hear about, oh gosh, you can go to this winery and meet the winery dogs, and the stories themselves are what create an interest in people.
Well, let's talk about where to find out about you, and you've talked about it a little bit, but where do we reach you website-wise? Your website is, and what do we expect to see there?
Well, we're going to be launching a new website. Our website currently gets about 200,000 visitors a year, but we're just in the process of launching a new website, and actually we've rebranded the name of our organization now is Visit Tri-Cities. I know you referred to it as the Tri-Cities Visitor and Convention Bureau, which we were for a number of years. Okay. But in about March of the fall of this last year, we did change our name to Visit Tri-Cities. You can find our website at www.visittricities.com. The calendar of events is right there on the homepage for those people interested in what to do. Additionally, we have a weekly publication called Your Weekend Starts Here, and that comes out every Thursday and talks about the things that will be taking place over the weekend. That's kind of targeted more to your leisure travelers. Yeah. And then we also have visitor guides. And if you're in the Tri-Cities area, you can pick them up at any of the 3 visitor centers, but we will certainly mail them to people, and they're also available on the website. You can either download a PDF or there's a virtual copy of the visitor guide. It's about 70 pages, and it outlines all the different attractions. So.
Just great. Well, good luck as things really start to pick up, as the weather starts to get warmer and warmer, and of course it's getting warmer more quickly where you are than where we are in Pullman. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Kim. Really appreciate it.
Thanks. It was very nice speaking with you.
Absolutely. And thanks at home for helping us out. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, you can stay connected with us all week long by tweeting us. You can like us on Facebook, add us to your circle on Google+, or email us at kwsutv@wsu.com. nwwestown.edu and send us those show ideas. If you missed any part of today's show, don't worry, all of it will be available online at nwptv.org. Next time on xConnect Northwest, Pullman Police School Resource Officer Scott Patrick will join us live from the Pullman studios and discuss interacting with students. If you have questions for him, feel free to connect with us online. I'm Greg Mills. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on air and online.